The Nexus 6P, P standing for premium, is arguably the best designed smartphone of 2015, hands down. The micro-knurled power button, the chamfered edges, the perfectly placed fingerprint scanner, the Gorilla Glass 4 panel, and with the anodized aluminum backing, this build screams premium and is worthy of the best design title. Huawei did a fantastic job in my opinion, and definitely puts the competition to shame in the design department. The 6P is also offered in frost and graphite, aka white and black, and it's available in 32GB, 64GB, or 128GB configurations, with the prices ranging from $499 to $649. This bad boy here has a 5.7-inch WQHD AMOLED display with 518 pixels per inch. Everything looks really sharp and colorful. However, I did notice a slight greenish tint on the white colors, only because I'm coming from the Note 5, which has a more bluish tint, so the contrast was apparent. Now, will the average Joe notice or even care? Probably not. The 6P is equipped with a USB-C port for quick charging, and the box came with two USB-C chargers, one being an AC wall adapter for quick charge, and one to charge via USB. And thanks to quick charge technology, you'll be able to go from 0 to 100 real quick in just a little over an hour's time. You have an 8-megapixel front-facing camera, and somewhere in that black panel is your ambient light sensor. The Nexus 6P has front-firing speakers, and they sound pretty darn good. They aren't the greatest, but I most certainly prefer this placement as opposed to the bottom or the back. I do love the symmetry and the design of the speakers, although more often than not I found myself holding it in the wrong orientation, especially after watching a video and viewing content. I'm also not a fan of the relatively thick side bezels, but that's really just a first world problem, and really no harm is done with that. I really love that uniform look when the screen is off. It kind of resembles the Note 5 a little bit. They do share the same form factor. In fact, the 6P is just slightly taller, as if the Note 5 wasn't big enough already, right? Personally, the 6P is the biggest any smartphone should ever be. The Gorilla Glass panel on the back is where you'll find your camera, your flash, and your laser autofocus. This also houses your GPS, Wi-Fi, and some cellular antennas. Of course, that's due to the aluminum body. And because of that, sadly, there's no wireless charging, which I'm extremely disappointed about. The rear camera has a 12.3 megapixel sensor with an f2.0 aperture, and it shoots in 4K, and the sensor is able to capture more light with its larger 1.55 pixels, which is just fancy talk for better low light performance by capturing larger pixels. And we'll see some of that later. Now, the fingerprint scanner, aka Nexus Imprint, is comfortably placed and has incredible speed and accuracy. It unlocks straight to your home screen, and it only takes a couple of seconds to set up. It's definitely my favorite fingerprint reader thus far. The only drawback is that you can't unlock it with your finger while it's laying on its back. But using a pattern unlock didn't seem to be so terrible after all. It runs Android 6.0 Marshmallow, which is the latest and greatest that Google has to offer. And because of this, you'll get all the latest updates as soon as they become available. This is the complete stock Android experience, and I can't help but feel this is what all Android phones should be running. I mean, it's smoother than a jar of peanut butter. The response time and animations are on point, and the material design just shines everywhere. There isn't a whole lot going on feature-wise, and that's not what Nexus is really known for. But two features that's new to Android Marshmallow is Google Now on tap and Doze. So by pressing the home button, Google Now on tap will analyze the information on your screen in a screenshot fashion, and it'll pull up some options and relevant info based on its analysis. For example, if you see a product you like on Amazon, you can use Google Now on tap to jump straight into a review of it on YouTube, start a Google search, or just find more images of it. Doze is when your phone goes into extreme idle mode, when your phone has been completely inactive for some time. There's no settings button for this, it's just something that occurs automatically. When you receive a call or message, which is considered high priority, it'll wake up from those, and all your other notifications will begin to come in one big batch. This will dramatically help save battery life over the course of many hours, probably causing you to lose only 1% within 8 hours. It's pretty cool, but with this phone's 3450 mAh battery, I've easily gotten through a day without those ever kicking in. And I'm a heavy user, so I'm extremely satisfied with the battery as it is. Double pressing the power button gives you quick access to your camera, and I love the simplicity of the camera app. The layout is very clean, but despite its simplicity, one gripe I did have was I had trouble finding the slow motion video until I actually realized it was the mini gauge meter up on top. You can go all the way up to 240 frames per second at 720p, which I'll show you examples of in a sec. Another complaint is HDR photos take way too long to process. Now HDR combines an over and underexposed version of your image for the best picture. And I gotta admit, the HDR photos look fantastic, and viewing photos on this screen looks beautiful. So let's see what this camera is really all about. Now I have to admit, I was pretty disappointed that the camera didn't have optical image stabilization, so handheld video wasn't as smooth as, let's say, the Note 5 for example. 4K looked nice and sharp, but some images were a little overexposed, and that's probably due to the new sensor technology. That's letting in probably too much light. Photos were a different story. These photos look absolutely fantastic, an incredible amount of detail. I mean, look at those water drops. Super sharp. I'm very impressed with the camera quality outdoors. Here's a shot I took at Kmart doing a little bit of Christmas shopping early. Plenty of available light in the store. Here's a little more lower light setting. My skin tones was a little saturated, but aside from that, the image still came out pretty sharp in a relatively low light situation. Look at that bezel. Here's a low light HDR shot of me inside a car. Really impressive. Here's a shot outdoors at nighttime with no HDR. And here's with HDR on. Brings out a little more detail in the sky. Here's another example of HDR in low light. Really nice. Here's a pair of car keys inside a restaurant. Really sharp. And here's a front facing selfie shot. Hey, what's up guys? The amount of detail this camera picks up is just amazing. Definitely on par with the Note 5. If you're on the market for the latest, greatest Android smartphone, this is the Android smartphone to get. You have software stability, top-notch specs, an amazing camera, and an incredible battery life. What more could you ask for? Alright guys, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to show some love to that like button. I'll leave more detailed specs down below in the description in case anyone happens to be interested. As always, I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Later.